How you doing, guys? Today we got a video speaking with a good friend of mine, and we're just going over some everyday topics for the regular guy. There's a few things that we hit. It's kind of a little bit all over the place just because it was just an impromptu meeting kind of discussion. But I hope that you enjoy this video. Please go ahead and leave some comments, like the video if you did, and let me know what you want to hear next. But I appreciate it, guys. See you next time. What's up, guys? Richard here. I'm here visiting one of my friends, Salome Briseño, and we're going to talk a little bit just about dating, relationships, marriage, just all around stuff with men and kind of what's going on right now. I showed him a few clips before we started here, but again, as y'all know, Richard, Mr. Rich, I'm 31, and this is Salome.
Hey guys, Salome Briseño here, the fourth, 28 years old, currently been married, going on 4 years now. So that's where we're at. No kids yet, so.
I'm single, never been married. So I showed him a few clips right before we started recording. I don't think you've seen any of the clips I showed you, right?
I've heard about the last one,
Oh,
but
yeah.
I never watched the actual clip.
Got it, okay. And of course with the clips, I'll go ahead and post them down below, and then I'll kind of show like snippets like here and there throughout the editing, just so y'all know what we're referring to as we go through this. Just with this, I really wanted to get your opinion and kind of your thoughts as far as, first off the clips. I mean, what did you think? Let's talk about the last one since that's when you referred to.
What's up? Because I'm finna expose you. What? Because that don't look enough for all my kids.
First.
The last one was where the guy brought food for his kid.
Yeah.
And the mom was really upset because he only brought food for one kid, which is his kid, but not the other siblings, which was like 3 other siblings. I think the mother just went overboard. Like, he was doing right for his kid and bringing him food, making sure he's fed, and especially for her to try to call him out like that was just like, it was kind of ridiculous. Like, she was in the wrong. He was doing his duties, right? Supply food for his kid. Shouldn't have given all that backlash, and I think she ended up getting backlash too. Like, people were making fun of her and like telling her stuff, and which I think was probably the right thing to do. He's an actual good father, right, for doing that, taking care of his kid and making sure he's fed, stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. No. But there's a few things, right, that like key points that I want to hit on this, right? For one, I completely agree with you. Like, I think that he was in the right taking food and stuff like that to help out his son. And I'm more than sure that the reason why he did that is because she probably told him, like, hey, your son doesn't have no food.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, come feed your son. So he was going to.
Yeah.
And seems like from the clip, like, it's not the first time that he's taken food like that for his son. And I don't know, I could be wrong, but it also doesn't seem like maybe she had a conversation with him before about, hey, can you help me out with the other kids? Or like, I need help in other ways, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because obviously she's like, I'm going to expose him, and like just like dropped it on him like nothing, right? And he was like, what are you doing? Like, he just thought that, I don't know, maybe it was just a joke or a prank or something. And then it got real fast, real quick, right?
Yeah.
So
I wouldn't be surprised too if she was trying to get like, just doing it to him to see if she get free food for the kids so she don't spend her own money or whatever.
Yeah.
Use she said she gets food stamps, so it's like, someone that's trying to expose someone like that, I feel like they're a little shady, right? Like,
oh yeah, for sure.
She might do like sell her food stamps or something.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. Yeah, that's like, I don't know. When I first saw it, I was like, man, and it just like brought up, kind of segueing to the next point here is like, this is why a lot of people, they like get weird when people pull out phones and stuff like that, or like when people say certain things, it's like, okay, wait, before I respond to this, like, what's going on, or like what's happening, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's like pretty bad, especially nowadays. Like, everybody should be able to just speak freely, like say what they mean, what they're thinking. Like, you know, it's kind of a lot. It really is kind of a lot, especially for a man, because in situations like this, like, don't get me wrong, I saw a video as well from, I can't remember who it was, but there was somebody else who had posted a video and was like, she did say something that was right. where she's like, "You knew what you were getting into when you had a baby with me, because I already had babies,"
Right.
which is true, right? Like,
Yeah.
you know, you're kind of walking into something if, you know, like they say, she belongs to the streets,
Yeah.
right? The odds of her actually changing, becoming somebody different is
Yeah.
like slim to none. You know what I mean? I don't know.
I think it would have been different if he was like still with her, like if they were like married or like together.
Yeah.
Like then I could see like, yeah, like you're now like that's your family now, so you need to provide for your like stepkids as well, right?
So I agree with you, and actually, I'm happy that you brought that up. So like that's another thing as well that I kind of wanted to talk to you about when what it means to actually be a man. And one of the biggest things is being a provider, right? Like actually providing financially for your family, whether it is stepkids or all your kids or whatever, adopted children. You know what I mean? That's like a big thing that people look for, or women look for in a man. Since this is one thing, just one thing that women look in for men, do you feel that there's something that men should look for in women, since this is something that they request like from a man, basically?
I think someone that could for sure be like a good mother, because you know, there's a lot of times where men have to do a lot of maybe they work extra or whatever, right, to provide. So you need someone that's for sure going to be a good mother to your kids. You know, not be like selfish. So, you know, not like just oh I'm gonna worry about money and kids will just eat cereal or do whatever. Like not worry about them. I think that would probably be that'd be one of the things at least for me. You know, making sure she can be a good mother. So
Yeah, for sure. No, I agree with you completely. Like for instance, like, you know, I've been watching a lot of this stuff, and that's the whole reason for this video is really like um, getting the perspective and the thoughts and everything of somebody who is 31 and then again late 20s and everything, or mid 20s, like married, not married, you know what I mean? And what our thought is as far as like with women, with dating, with marriage, with relationships, and what we look for in women as far as that you definitely have already built yourself enough to where you are at a higher tier as far as value of band, versus somebody who is working on themselves and upcoming to that, you know, even being with age. One of the things that I wanted to talk to you about as well and kind of bring up on this is nowadays it's almost negative or like looked down upon when you are this type of man. Like one of the things that a lot of people say, right, like toxic masculinity and stuff like that. And I know we mentioned it before, but like men are meant to like lead, right? Like that's what women look for in a man, especially, right? Right. They want you to go ahead and lead them. And a lot of people, they try to twist that thought or those words like, well, I don't need somebody to control me. It's like, it's not about controlling. Right. Right. So like when you hear that or you think about that, like an actual man leading, like what does that mean to you?
I believe that means setting yourself or setting, you know, your family, if you have a family, up for success, really, you know. Leading them in the right direction, the right path, making sure, you know, everything's great. You know, like for example, so I'm like a big numbers person, so I do like all the financial stuff, but I still want my wife there to be there learning it with me along with the journey, you know, because she knows how to do it. So if I'm ever sick or something, like, you know, something happens to me, then she can be set up for success in that situation, right? She knows, like, okay, I know what to do with the finances because, you know, I brought her with me and I set her up for success, right? You know, leading your family in the right direction as far as, you know, values go. When you have kids, make sure, you know, they're hard workers, make sure they understand the value of money, the value of themselves, stuff like that. So I think going to the toxic masculinity, I think a lot of that's really overblown now. Like there is toxic men, right? So what I think of toxic men is toxic masculinity is someone that like is gonna beat on his wife or something, beat on his kids or like
for sure
stuff like that, or like always wanting to fight people or some stuff like that. Like okay, yeah, sure, but you know, some guy trying to talk to a woman, I mean that's not toxic masculinity. Or some guy trying to lead a woman, I don't think that's toxic masculinity. That's just it's our nature. men's nature, you know. And not every man's like that, but majority of men are naturally like to that nature to lead. And I mean that stems all the way back since, you know, cavemen, right? They would lead, hunt, lead all that stuff, and then by nature that's kind of how we are. So that's why I think a lot of the wokeness is kind of like bullshit, basically. Like, and they're trying to shape our culture, which I think it's dumb. You know.
or whatever, right? And they're trying to combine those and try to say like, hey, you know what? Well, each of them can do both the roles, and it doesn't matter, and whatever, whatever. And like, although there are some relationships and stuff, and some marriages where the roles may be flipped, where the man is more feminine and the woman is more masculine, but they still hold those roles,
Right.
and they know what each other does, right? To go to make sure that that family still works. So either way, like even in that process and everything, or how they hold their standards and everything in their home, it still proves that it works.
Right.
You know what I mean? It has been for years. Yeah, because then they had to hold all the responsibilities that came with that, right? They had to do everything that men had to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Fire brigade and everything else, you know what I mean? Get ready to enlist if they had to and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So it's like they just didn't want it. And it's understandable. Let's say somebody's breaking into your home, right? And my uncle says this a lot. He uses an example, and it's true. He said he heard this from somebody else. But if somebody breaks into your home, like who do you expect to go and like fight that robber off or whoever's
Yeah.
trying to break into your home? Like the man, right?
Yep.
And like in the example, the woman that was there was like, no, like I'll be right there with him to fight him. And then
Yeah.
the guy says, yeah, but what about the kids? Who's gonna take care of the kids?
Yeah.
You're there fighting the robber off or whatever. Let's say that he hurts both of y'all. What about the kids?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you're supposed to be there taking care of the kids. The man goes and fights. You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
that's just the way the roles are. You know. But now that's considered like toxic. Like, hey, you know what? Women can do it too. Like men don't only do it and this and that. And I know that that's factual. Men are just factually stronger than women, right?
Yeah.
That's why they do this. But it's not to try to put women down. That's why we're saying that these are just the facts. You know what I mean? These are the roles that we all play.
Yeah.
The other thing that I wanted to ask you, right? Because like you said, you know, you've been married for how many years?
It's going on 4 years.
Happily?
Happily married, yes.
I'm
Yeah.
kidding. I know happily. So my question to you is that, like, as far as when you were first dating and everything, would you say that you had like a list of like, you know what, I'm really looking for these things and these are non-negotiables with who I'll marry or be with?
I didn't physically have a list, but I think mentally, yeah, I had some stuff. One thing was like that I wanted, you know, my partner to have like some kind of career path. But here's, let me explain it really quick. So why I thought that was important at the time, at least. I still would consider it important, either like a career path or like some kind of like goals, or like they want to achieve something, right? So it doesn't necessarily have to be like get a degree necessarily, but you know, some type of path, right, forward. I think just in general, I'm like a really goal oriented person, and I think someone else that's like minded, whether and that's like same like minded situation, that they can push forward to, hey, I want to achieve, this is what I want to achieve. I think that's great to have as a partner, you know, because that's the way I am. And then like you have someone else that's similar, then you can both work towards your goals together, right? And you know, family goals, financial goals, or like whatever types of goals. And I don't think it's always important for the wife to work if she wants to work, like, and that's something like we make up as me and my wife, right? But I think she always have that degree or whatever that, you know, hey, you know, I know this type of skill. She'll always have that no matter what, right? So like if something happens to me, like I always say, go back to that, like something were to happen to me, I need to make sure we're fine. They're gonna be fine on their own, right? Or they're gonna be fine while maybe I'm hurt or something, right? So that's one thing, like be goal oriented, make sure like they have something forward. They're not just not doing anything with their life, or just, you know, working. Even if it's like, hey, you know, I want to be a manager or like store manager or whatever, right? I think it's important to have something. So that was kind of like important to me back then, you know. Right now, I haven't dated in like 7 years, so it's been like so long, but I think right now it'll probably still be similar, right? Have at least some type of, hey, this is what I want to achieve in my life. And, you know, it doesn't necessarily have to be career, but I guess just goal orientation in general. So that'll probably be like top of my list.
They want to achieve things.
Right.
Right? Like, yeah. No, yeah, that was explained perfectly. I feel that I know y'all very well. Like, that y'all are that type of people. You know what I mean? And that's freaking awesome. If you don't mind sharing, do you have a degree, education?
Oh yeah, I have a degree. So me and my wife both have degrees. I have a bachelor's degree and I also have a master's degree. So I have a bachelor's in electrical engineering and then a master's in engineering system management. So yeah. I don't think I necessarily need a master's. One of the reasons I only got a master's was because my company paid for it. So I was like, all right, cool. I was like, I'll just do it just because it's free, basically, right? So I don't think people need degrees necessarily. Like, I mean, if you go look at numbers, you'll see like most of the, you know, true millionaires, everyday millionaires, like people, you know, out in you know, in your neighborhood, they're mostly business owners, and a lot of business owners don't have degrees, you know. So at the time, I thought, you know, degrees were important, and I think they're important depending on what you want to do with your life, but I don't think they're not always necessary.
As far as degrees, I wouldn't say that they're like a necessity, but they definitely do help, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Especially because a lot of people, like for instance, when they say like, oh yeah, you should go to this school, you should do this and that, like at the end of the day, all they want to do is see that piece of paper,
Yeah.
right? Just like, hey, you know what, I'm proficient in this. This just proves that I'm proficient in this. You know what I mean? It's not something that you need for everyday life to live, or like you said, to be an entrepreneur or business owner or anything like that. Like, to succeed. Just because you have a degree doesn't mean that you're successful.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, or it doesn't mean if you don't have a degree that you aren't going to be successful.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think people have that like common misconception. You know what I mean? They feel that more education leads to more money, more success, more, and that's just completely incorrect.
Yeah. Yeah, if you would have asked me like, you know, 5 or 7 years ago, I would have told you like, oh no, you need a degree. But like, because I think that's too what we like. Well, that's how I grew up, right? They were telling me like, everyone will tell you you need a degree, you need a degree. But I think too that comes from like a lot of our family, or like I'm gonna stop saying our, but my family like specifically, they like not that many people had degrees, so they felt like the way you need to get up, one step up in the world was to get a degree. But I don't think that's necessarily true, or it's not necessarily true. So.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you, and that's like you said with our families and our culture, right? Just because I guess you can see, like, I consider myself an American, right?
Yeah.
But like people will say like, oh, you're Hispanic, you know, you're whatever, Mexican American, whatever, right? But I am from Mexico. I don't even speak Spanish. You know what I mean? But like, our culture is definitely very thick. Well, again, I'll say me, like my culture and my family, it's very deep. It's very thick. You know what I mean? Like, and it's almost like frowned upon, like if you don't do what your family says or your parents say, right? Like, talking about leading and stuff like that. Like, if you have the family or the father figure, the male figure in your family that's still alive, the oldest one, typically whatever they say goes. It just comes down like the whole family does it, right?
Yeah.
Like whatever they say is like law. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And sometimes that can be pretty hard, you know, because not everything they say is right or maybe will be the best for you, right?
Right.
And sometimes you can have that struggle as far as like um, authority or listening or anything like that, especially when you get older. So it can be pretty difficult, and I can definitely understand that. But yeah, so like everything that you said, like I completely agree with you. Just want to give everybody else insight as far as with people similar to our age or like every day, you know what I mean? I would consider myself like an everyday person, you know, an average person or whatever in the community, versus some other people that you see online and stuff like that that have a higher social status or they come from somebody who's known or something like that or whatever, right? Or they do it as a business and they have for years. Like this is literally our first video, you know what I mean? Just kind of give everybody like the raw, like, hey, you know what? I've been seeing this and this is me. I've been seeing this a lot popping up as far as these different videos, different people trying to say like, hey, you need to do this or be that to be a man or woman and stuff like that. And a lot of it, I do agree with a lot of it. It almost seems like they're trying to direct people a certain way. And I think that that's something that not only when I go see a movie, like I want to see a movie that like is about comic book heroes and stuff like that or something, you know, not what's going on in the world right now in my comic book movie where I'm like, bro, are you kidding me? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially with like a lot of this women's stuff, you know what I mean? Like, um, don't want to give too specific of an example. If not, the big mouse will come and hunt me down. So, but you know, especially those movies, you know, it's getting to the point where it's just making the movie not enjoyable anymore.
Yeah. They're trying to make it like
Normalize it.
They're trying to normalize stuff.